Oh, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes. We're getting ready to talk about professional wrestling. Wherever you decide to listen to this podcast, whether it's on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes or your favorite podcast application, we're ready to go. I'm recording this on November 29, 2022. Thank you very much for being here. And look, let's get this out of the way. If you're listening to this on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, know that this podcast is recorded at 7 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday night. So if you can ever make it to a live edition, come on in. It's a lot of fun. We've got a live chat going and everything. So that's always cool. So you can pop in. But if you're watching this on demand right now, which you probably are, consider subscribing to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel and leave a like on the video as well. All that stuff helps out. Plus, on top of that, well, you will never miss anything that I do here on the channel, including my AEW Dynamite reviews, which I post every Thursday. It's the same thing, though, if you're listening to this on your favorite podcast app as well, because the audio is out there in podcast format. You won't miss out on a thing. You get the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, you get the AEW Dynamite review on your podcast stuff as well. You just need to subscribe, follow, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, so on and so forth. Leave a 5-star review, by the way, if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating on Spotify. Again, all little things that you can do to help out. It would be a great deal. And if you like talking about wrestling and you'd like to hang out with more like-minded people who enjoy pro wrestling, join the Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. The link is in the description, and it is open arms. We're just ready. Doors are open to welcome you and have you be a part of this fantastic community that we're building. So come on in. We'd love to have you. As for the podcast right now, well, it's a bit of a slow few days. We're still in the Thanksgiving afterglow. So a lot of people, aren't necessarily reporting things, and no one is with their coworkers. No one's getting pissed off kind of thing. So it's not so busy as usual, but we still have stuff to talk about. We're going to review Survivor Series War Games that was put on by WWE this past Saturday. There's a lot of stuff that I talk about. I go deep into the matches. We're going to talk about the bloodline angle. There you go. And we're also going to touch on Ronda Rousey. There's already talk about the women's Royal Rumble. Who's going to win that? I have some thoughts on that. William Regal is in the news. There's still plenty to chat about. Maybe it won't be the 3-hour marathon that I'm able to put on sometimes, but it'll be a good one nonetheless. Thank you again for letting me into your ears and eye holes. Hopefully your eyes are not holes. You know what I mean. Let's get to it. Hey, you know what? We're getting close to the end of the year, which means that we're getting very close to the end of me having to say 52 nice things about Bill Goldberg.
Warren Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
So the wonderful thing about Bill Goldberg is that he has inspired a generation of fighters everywhere from all creeds, all shapes and sizes, as we can see right now in this video.
Warren Hayes has 52 nice things to say about Goldberg.
The old Goldberg special is what he pulled there. Okay. And now it's time for the weekly wrestling inspection. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got quite a show tonight. A few things to go through. I think that unquestionably the most significant news item that we have to contend with this week is my review of Survivor Series War Games, which was put on by the company known as World Wrestling Entertainment. It happened this weekend, and this is, again, it's one of these litmus tests where I try to find where I'm positioning myself, where I'm placed in regards to what people like in pro wrestling, legitimately, and I'm trying not to sound sarcastic about it, because there's stuff that happened on the show that I enjoyed, but there's a lot of it that I'm like, look, it's the tropes, it's the tropey tropes, it's the things that all the things that annoy me about WWE always seem to converge onto their shows like this, But it's one of these where I'm like, look, can we sit down? I look at this and I'm like, okay, can I sit down with anyone who watched this show and say, okay, well, we could sit down and watch other wrestling shows together. We could sit down and have a nice little time together. Because I didn't think this show was great. I thought it was, and I put out a poll here for the live audience here, who gave it, 60% of the audience gave it a thumbs in the middle, 40% thumbs up. No one thumbed down the show, and I don't think it was a bad show. I really don't. I don't think it was a bad show. But middling, a little on the soft side. Because, like I said, everything, it's really strange to me. Everything that I end up not liking about WWE always seems to come to the forefront in very crucial circumstances. And look, we've been talking about this since August, since Vince was pushed out of the company. When Triple H took over, everyone was very excited. Everyone was looking forward to, some tremendous changes. And while, he did make some moves, and while, he did a lot of window dressing, such as allowing commentary to say wrestling instead of sports entertainment, or the referees having names, or referencing other promotions, which I think is and don't get me wrong on the referencing other promotions thing. I don't want to necessarily gloss this over. I'll come back to my original point here. Hey, King of the North, nice to see you and welcome, Evan. I think I'm appreciative of World Wrestling Entertainment breaking out of its silo. Understanding that there is a true universe and not just a WWE universe that it's a part of, right? And so I know a lot of people get really excited when they start dropping, New Japan Pro Wrestling on programming, And trust me, this is calculated. They do this on purpose so that people will have the reaction, but I have difficulty being really in bad faith about it, because I think it's important that WWE addresses the world of wrestling at large, that it addresses its history like it did, talking about how all, War Games started in 1987, Jim Crockett Promotions, Dusty, child from a part of Dusty Rhodes' brainchild, it's like I understand, I'm appreciative of that, but I also understand that these things are bare minimum stuff that they should be doing regardless, because the lore of pro wrestling goes far beyond what World Wrestling Entertainment does. So it's bare minimum stuff. So it's not something that I'm going to cheer and hurrah and say, yes, a new era is beginning. I'm like, look, this is something they should be doing. I'm glad they're doing it, but they should have been doing it for years at this point. Because it's really weird to me when you turn around, when you're so insular, you're doing your own thing and you never address the outside world. And then all of a sudden You have the WWE Hall of Fame, and then we're inducting Jushin Thunder Liger. And you never talk about Japanese wrestling or Liger on air ever. And he's he was supposed to be there, pandemic and whatnot. But they have to put Inoki in the Hall of Fame, unless he is already. Is Inoki in the Hall of Fame? Probably is, right? Come to think of it. Is Antonio Inoki in the WWE Hall of Fame? Yes, he was inducted in 2010. All right, so that's something. Okay. Moving on. I don't get mad at me because I'm not up to my WWE Hall of Fame lore. Okay? All right? Y'all can tell me what year Tori Wilson got inducted, and I don't care. Demolition hasn't been inducted. So, anyway. What were we talking about? Yeah, so Triple H. So all of that. So all of it has been window dressing. I keep hammering this every time that I have the opportunity, but I think it's important. A lot of people got their hopes really, really high when Triple H took over. And what was one of the first things I told all you guys, gals, and non-binary pals when I started when this all started happening? Don't expect WWE to start making huge changes when they are on the cusp of renegotiating their rights deals with Fox and USA. They're going to want to stick to the formula as much as possible. Don't make any waves so that they don't lose any more ground than they already have. They want to keep the ship steady. Let's get another 250, 300 million, whatever it'll be, and we'll move on. Right? Of course, the door was open for Triple H to stick it to AEW and really do something different. But it ends up, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. I don't know when the Great Khali was inducted. See, that's that's exactly my point. So that's the thing, right? So this is where we're at, where we're looking at a product right now, which feels indiscernible. Is that the right word? That doesn't feel any different. How about that? Because I'm not quite sure indiscernible is the word I want here. A product that doesn't feel any different than when Vince was booking it. And I'm sorry to say, but that's where we're at. It's still pretty much the same stuff. And I'm seeing a lot of patterns that were there, and it's not getting me excited, which is why I decided to become a casual viewer of Monday Night Raw and not, sit down and watch it. So I am actually, congratulations, WWE. I have become the target audience that you're looking for. But as I said, I want to tune in. I want to see the Survivor Series. I want to see the PLEs. I want to see the big shows. That's important. And I feel that now moving forward, if I'm not watching the weekly shows, I should be able to sit down and be entertained by a wrestling show on the PLE, right? I should be able to watch a main pay-per-view, PLE, whatever they call it now, and be entertained without having to sit through, 5 to 6 weeks of 7 hours per week of programming. Does that make sense? Seems to me. Again, I don't necessarily want to rehash the whole Triple H and all of that stuff and how bringing everyone back. Like you can look at the numbers for yourself. We're all back to normal levels. The Triple H phenomenon hasn't had any impact, and they can't capitalize. They don't know how to capitalize on what they have. They don't know how to push stars. They don't know how to make stars anymore. Even the Bray Wyatt stuff has petered out. SmackDown is back to regular ratings, regular rating levels. I don't know what to Excuse me, I don't know what to tell you. And look, I'm going to get the War Games talk out of the way, okay? No, it has not been, it's not the War Games that I was acquainted to back in the 90s. It's not the same since they started doing it in NXT a few years ago. It's just not, okay? But the way the War Games matches were approached in NXT, the first one, second one, they all felt critical and they all felt big time. They felt important. They felt like there were scores to settle. Everything felt urgent. Sure, there was no, they didn't have the lid on the War Games cage, and maybe people weren't spilling as much blood, as in other editions in the past, but that's the thing that is my problem with War Games, and which I was a little worried about having a main roster War Games is that the match is meant to be brutal. It's meant to be savage and harsh, violent. Like the cage in and about itself is supposed to be a weapon, right? You go back and you think about the beginning, the start of War Games 92, right? The Dangerous Alliance versus Sting's Squadron. You have Steve Austin and Barry Windham who start off the match, and what are they doing? They're trying to launch the other dude into the cage head first. But they're not worn down yet. They're fresh. So they're like, no, they're putting on the brakes. They're holding on to the cage. I'm like, yeah, you couldn't do it, pal, kind of thing. Because the cage is supposed to be a weapon. It's supposed to be a part of what makes this match dangerous. But in both situations, in regards to Survivor Series this year, in both matches, what I meant, the women's match, the guys' match, the cage exists for someone to jump off of it. That's all it's for. In an environment where all you can do is bring in plunder to make a match seem hardcore or violent, because it's a PG setting and you can do the blood, you don't want blood and guts. You want not blood and guts, you want scrapes and bruises. Well, the War Games loses a bit of its luster. And I would say that it is the same thing that happened with Hell in a Cell, which has been overdone. You had its own pay-per-view. You had your own pay-per-view for it. A couple of years ago, they had a Hell in a Cell pay-per-view where there were 3 different cell matches on it. How does that make anything feel critical or important? Plus, on top of that, WWE sells the Hell in a Cell as an event that shortens careers. It's supposed to be a big blow off to a feud, right? A huge exclamation mark to mark the end of something dramatic, of something that's been building, simmering, boiling over for a while. Now we get to the Hell in a Cell, and Hell in a Cell is like, oh, we've got 2 cell matches tonight, so 4 people are going to have their careers shortened tonight. 4. That's not looking forward here, WWE. It takes a lot of the drama away, and it's the same thing here. Because I was looking, and the other thing that outside of the blood is the chaos that these matches are. Again, I know, I understand. Look, this is the line that I sometimes do the shuffle on, dance upon. I want wrestling to progress. I want wrestling to change. I want it to get better. I want it to always have a good, fresh, healthy roster of people that will, put on the best for pro wrestling, right? But I I also think that in some circumstances, we've lost the plot as to what makes wrestling so good because we've had 20 years of sports entertainment. And on many, many fronts, Vince has won this war in the minds of wrestling fans where it's like, oh, well, you don't need blood in a hardcore match. It's, well, you don't need it. But if you want to feel something, if you want this match to come across as being hardcore, oh, you know, maybe a slight blade job will do the work, you know? Anyway. So this is the line I'm off. So I don't want to sit here and tell you, go back. You know, everything was better back in the territory days, because it wasn't. But if you're going to bring back concepts, for instance, war games, there's certain element. The way WWE approached the war games matches this weekend does not correlate to what makes a war games match fun or good or dangerous, whatever you want to call it, whatever adjective you want to use. That's not what we skirted aside the chaos. It's something that I use a lot, but you guys know I love the chaos in wrestling, but a war games match has 10 people in it, and there's stuff happening all around the ring, and yes, production is having trouble keeping up, and there's but the audience isn't bored because there's mayhem all the time. There's guys pummeling each other on one end. There's another guy pulling a suplex on the other. Like, there's just shit happening all the time, and that's part of what makes a war games match a war games match. Even outside the blood, outside of blade jobs, it's the chaos. It's the commentary being out of breath. It's JR and Jesse Ventura going, Jesus, there's so much stuff going on. I can't follow the action. There's just chaos everywhere, and there legitimately is. And that's what makes this fun. What I saw here. By the way, DGMC, nice to see you. Member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. Welcome. This is the main ticket. This is the main thing here. The war games are booked like the Royal Rumble. Okay? I like the Royal Rumble a lot more than not. Because I think as far as battle royal scenarios, matches go, it's one of the most entertaining because it has a formula and it works. You get the countdown, someone comes in, gets their shit in, then we move on to something else, then someone else comes in, you get their shit in, so on and so on. This is booked like a Royal Rumble. And I don't know if you noticed, because at some point, and in both the men and the women's, where it's like at some point, someone comes in, and then everyone who was in the midst of some action, either they're pressing on the throat of someone in the corner with their foot, or they're passed out, or whatever. So then that the new person who gets into the ring can get their shit in. Well, this is not the Royal Rumble. This should be like, people should, if a baby face is coming in, the heels should be rushing the door to take him over, right? It's the chaos element that is completely absent of it. The thing that makes it organic and creates this sense of urgency and danger. But no, Bianca Belair comes in and she's gonna do her thing. Well, no, she started. That's a bad example, but you know what I mean. Asuka comes in. Rhea Ripley comes in, and Rhea Ripley, quite frankly, was the only one who made me feel like I was watching a War Games match when she came in. Do you remember when she hit the ring? I'm getting ahead of myself here, but when she hit the ring, she started beating people up. She started grabbing ladies and just beating the shit out of them. Not, trying to do tornado DDTs or, flying Orihara moonsaults. Well, you can't do that from inside a cage. But you know what I mean? She just starts walloping people. And I'm like, this is it. This is what you have to do. Like, it's as if Rhea Ripley's the only one who gets it. anything is better. Look, anything is better than the battle for brand supremacy, okay? Anything is better than that. Which, is a saving grace to a degree, because if the bar is in the dirt and all you have to do is, lift it up with the tip of your shoe, that's still not that big an effort. Because look, last year, if you remember, Survivor Series was a dismal show. And I don't think it has anything to do with people being fatigued of the elimination style matches. I don't think so. I think that it was the fact that there were no stakes, that none of it made sense, and that they were booked like shit. Kurt Angle today was reminding us on his podcast that in 2017, the Survivor Series match it was in was all about getting Triple H over. In 2017. So I like, some of my fondest memories as a kid is Survivor Series season when Hulk Hogan would get his Hulkamaniacs around to into a team and they'd face off against the heel du jour and his crew of miscreants, and then you'd have Lex Luger do the same thing, and that was cool because you had all these characters and they all had feuds, not brand supremacy, which meant nothing. It meant something to only one person for some reason, and it was significant for him, but didn't make sense for the majority of the audience. Who cared? So again, if the bar is so low, it's not easy, it's not hard to elevate it. So is War Games a better setup than Survivor Series? Yes, to the degree where over the past few years, Survivor Series has been driven into the ground, but it has nothing to do with the match itself. It's the build, it's the story. There's no reason to care about brand supremacy. And I'd even argue that what were the motivations? What was the thing here that made everyone so angry at each other that they wanted to get into war games against each other? Everyone wanted to put teams together to take out the other guys. Look, the bloodline, I think it's fine. Everyone in the company wants to take them out. They need to take them down a peg. Who's going to do it? Blah, blah, blah. So Sheamus and his boys and Kevin Owens and Drew, right? Drew McIntyre, they're like, look, we all hate these guys too. Let's all get together and use our hate to punch some teeth in. But as far as the women go, Bianca and Asuka and Alexa Bliss and the damage control girl. Damage control is nothing now. It's nothing. It's not even, who cares? They have completely lost any luster that they had when they were put together at SummerSlam earlier this year, where even I got up out of my seat and like, this fucking rules. But they're not even close to being a faction of heels that you can really get behind or be, oh yeah, they're absolutely a threat. They're not a threat. They're not a threat. I don't know why anyone would take them seriously. Becky Lynch last night on Raw fought off all three. So, I don't know. Point being, in regards to War Games at this point, I have trouble understanding why we need a War Games in WWE when it just ends up being your standard plunder match within a cage, and the cage it has no use in the match to contain everyone. It doesn't matter. The door is open. They can walk in or out. They can get whatever shit they want from outside. It doesn't matter. It just matters to allow Nikki Cross to fly off the top, and Becky Lynch to do an Alabama Jam. Anyway, we'll talk. But that's my point. It's like, why is the cage there? There's no reason for the cage. It's not a device in the match in any way, shape, or form. Nothing that happened in that, nothing of significance in either the women's or the men's match happened 100% because we needed a cage. Absolutely not. Let's talk about these matches now. First and foremost, opened up with the Women's War Games 10 Women Tag Team match, where Alexa Bliss, Asuka, Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, and Mia Yim defeated Damage Control, Nikki Cross, and Rhea Ripley. I thought this was pretty fun. We had Bianca Belair and Dakota Kai starting off. Dakota Kai's offense from the first is off the get-go, I find, is a little soft, but she found her footing pretty quickly afterwards and became, in my opinion, the MVP of that match. Io Shirai comes in. She does a great Hurricane Rana. Bianca Belair hits a double suplex. We get Asuka and Io Shirai, who have a singles exchange at some point. And even there, I'm like, why are they holding back? I don't know. These are two women that could they could just snap into, Japanese Joshi murder mode, and they could just wow the shit out of us for 30 seconds. What we got was fine. A taste, I guess. But something where I'm that I was looking forward to, and I was like, okay. Belair Gorilla presses Dakota Kai against the cage. Dakota Kai, who was not afraid to die on Saturday. We got to point that out. The heels then use kendo sticks on Bianca Belair and Nikki Cross goes to sit on the top of the cage just to watch the mayhem, and then she eventually crossbodies off the top and just wipes everyone out. Bailey arrives and she brings in ladders and tables, and it takes 60 hours to get all the junk in. Mia Yim, when she arrives, is the same thing. She another 6 hours to get all the shit in. The cage is just full of plunder at this point. Big spear by Mia Yim, who crosses both rings to hit her spear, which was really cool. Rhea Ripley arrives, beats people up. I talked about it a little moment ago. She just beats people up. She doesn't come in, she doesn't try to be cute. She doesn't do any stare downs. She's not like, oh ho ho, I am in the ring with you here. No, she comes in and starts fucking people up. This is what a War Games is. Rhea's the only one who gets it. Or Rhea's the only one that they let do it. Becky's the last one in. They tease, excuse me, they tease Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, and Ronda, and Rhea Ripley. No, we're gonna get to her in a second. Asuka missed Rhea Ripley. Should we call her Asmuta? I'm sorry. Io Shirai moonsaults off the cage. She also got covered up in a garbage can, which was a good throwback to that one War Games where she's where she spends a part of the match covered in a trash can. So that tradition continues. That made me laugh. Rhea splatters Mia Yim onto the ladder. The ladder just falls apart. Becky Lynch and Bianca Belair hit their finishers, but hey, we're not pinning anyone. But you're hitting your finishers. Yeah, but Yeah, but you just hit the manhandle slam and you just hit the KOD. Yeah, but no. So, who cares? But the match comes to an end when Becky Lynch hits an Alabama Jam off the top rope through a table. Spoiler alert, this was the best of the 2 War Games matches that we had on this evening. Dakota Kai bumped like hell, made everyone look good. I think she was an MVP here. Solid match. I enjoyed it. Next, we got AJ Styles defeating Finn Balor. There was okay stuff early on by Balor here in this match as he works a great heat segment. AJ Styles fights back, and then Dominic gets involved. And so the Good Brothers and the Judgment Day, they start fighting each other and into the audience. So it's just like a one-on-one thing. But there is nothing to Dominic Mysterio. And I'm sorry. There's nothing to this guy. I was I was watching Raw like a casual viewer should last night. And when he came out with Rhea Ripley for her match, he literally just stood there. He has no presence. He has no understanding of how to make himself come across as a star, look like a wrestler. He just comes out. He could have been any old security goon that WWE hire for security goon purposes for the show, and it would have done the same thing. No charisma, no presence. He's just standing there, blank-faced. And I know there's a lot of people who really like this unironically, who like this ironically, but the irony is going to run out real quickly. Because right now, they're really leaning into the fact that everyone sees him as a wiener, as a sub, and 100%, right? Oh, he can't, he can't quite wrestle, he can't quite do it, he's so green, all that shit. They're really leaning into it, and leaning into the fact that Rhea is much better than him, like above him in every way, shape, or form. At some point, that's going to wear thin. Anyway, when the Good Brothers and Judgment Day started fighting each other, that was probably the most heat the entire match had. And not that it wasn't worked well, it was a solid match. I just think it never had a second gear. AJ does a moonsault into a slob drop. Finn does a great fireman's carry pop-up gut buster. That ruled. Balor fights out of the calf crusher by ramming AJ's head on the mat, which I was looking at. I was like, yeah, people should do that all the time. What are we doing? Styles hits the phenomenal forearm for the win. A lot of people really like this match, and I thought it was a very competent pro wrestling match. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't terrible, but it had no life to it, had no spark. Let's talk about stuff not having any life or any spark. Ronda Rousey retained her WWE SmackDown Women's Championship against Shotzi Blackheart. This stunk. This was bad. This was a terrible match that should have never happened. And Ronda is terrible. She is terrible at everything. But this is something that I have been saying, and I'm not alone. This isn't a hot take. This isn't me like being like, oh, look at me on my bandwagon. Not my bandwagon, on my soul island, right? On my deserted island, screaming at the seagulls. No. I'm not alone in this. But it bears being hammered home. Ronda Rousey is terrible at pro wrestling. She is bad in every shape imaginable at this point, and especially positioned as a draw for the company. If she was prelimming with Natalya and Aaliyah, I wouldn't give a shit. But in this circumstance, when she's carrying arguably the second biggest women's title of the company, no. This ain't it. This is wrong. And I have people saying, and yeah, absolutely poor Shotzi. Look, because I've seen people going like, Shotzi's not good enough to carry her. It's not on Shotzi to carry her. How can you carry someone, regardless, listen to this. How can you carry someone who outright goes, when you're starting up to hit a move, that person outright goes, nope, we're not doing it. As the move is being executed, she completely bails. You know what I'm talking about. That DDT. The jumping DDT on the apron that Shotzi does, which is part of her repertoire, which she has done before. I can't imagine that they didn't go over this spot backstage. I can't imagine that producing this match backstage, this spot was not talked about. I am convinced that Shotzi and Ronda agreed to do it. If Ronda felt uncomfortable to do it, she just said, Shotzi, I don't want to take an apron bump on the head. Is that fine? And it's a move. Here's the thing. This is what makes it even more egregious. This is a move that makes Shotzi look like $1 million. This is one of her signature moves. It's one of the things that she does that makes her stand out. She goes to hit it, and Ronda she doesn't even follow through. She does nothing. She doesn't even come close to hitting the mat. No one ends up looking good. Everyone ends up looking like a fucking goof. And that sucks for Shotzi. Because Ronda decided to go, nope, I'm not doing it. As the move is fucking being executed. At the very least, it was called in the ring. At the very least. Fucking sandbag. If Ronda was the only person who ended up looking like a dork on this move, I wouldn't have that much of an issue with it. But she dragged down Shotzi with her. You don't do that to your opponents. That fucking stinks. And listen, we have to come to grips with the fact that the Ronda Rousey 2021-2022 it's been a bust. We have to come to grips with the fact that the 2021-2022 Ronda Rousey run has been a bust. It's been a bust in ring. It's been a bust creatively because she can't cut a promo to hang her hat on, and she has no charisma, no attachment to the audience whatsoever, and business-wise, completely irrelevant. Where have been the spikes in viewership that a Ronda Rousey should be carrying in? They're booking her like she's some kind of Brock Lesnar. But at least Brock brings in people to watch. The ratings on SmackDown, her quarter hours, there's nothing special. They're sustained. They're either on median or with the rest of the show, or fairly frequently, they lose viewership when she's on. And in the meantime, they're running through the entire women's roster on SmackDown, just feeding her over and over and over again until there's no one left. And guess what? We're reaching that mark where there's going to be no one left. They're warming up Raquel Gonzalez. They really like Raquel. The Triple H really likes Raquel. And they're warming her up for her. So she's going to be the Royal Rumble opponent. That's my official Warren Hayes prediction here. But we have to come to grips. We have to realize that Ronda Rousey has brought nothing to the table in this run of hers in WWE. If at the very least She was popping quarter hours. Her merch was on everyone you could see in the arena. You'd be like, well, she stinks, but you don't even have that. There is no proper argument you can make right now that justifies continuing to have Ronda Rousey on television under contract with WWE. She is awful. She is a detriment to the company. She's a detriment to the women's division. She's running through women who are passionate about what they do, who are in multiple circumstances better than what than she is. And she's running through them. And then once WrestleMania rolls along and she hits the bricks for a while, everyone's going to be like, oh, well, who's next? Who are we going to warm up? Well, let's pick Lacey Evans. Let's go. This is the kind of damage that becomes irreparable or takes years to fix. It took them years to get the stink off of Ronda's dominance of the women's division in her initial run once Becky won the title. Don't you all recall? Becky was stuck in a feud with Lacey Evans of all fucking people because there was no one around that was a credible threat anymore. You know, as much as I give Liv Morgan a hard time, Liv Morgan gets reactions from the audience. She is well liked by the WWE universe. They can get behind her. Ronda? That's enough. It's enough. And then she can leave WWE and then go on, whatever platform she wants after, and then she can start talking about, UFC fans are bad, but wrestling fans are just as bad. All right. Maybe at some point you're the problem. If that's all people talk about, if all they talk about is shit about you, maybe it's not everyone else who's shit. Just saying. This was a bad match. And then Shotzi, poor Shotzi, decided that she was going to dedicate this match to her dead father, who passed away a few months ago. And I don't know why anyone with a brain, I don't know how anyone with a brain in this company didn't walk up to Shotzi and say, Shotzi, listen, you're gonna have a 5-minute match, 6-minute match, whatever, with Ronda Rousey. You're gonna lose, and it's Ronda. Don't dedicate this one to your dad. You're not gonna win. Wait and dedicate it to a significant one, because this ain't it. I don't know why they ran with this. I just feel bad for Shotzi. Why would she dedicate this to her dad? And why didn't anyone in the company go, you know what? Maybe this shouldn't be the story of the match, because you're losing, Shotzi. And then the kicker, I don't know if you guys and gals and non-binary pals saw this. It turns out it's Jason Jordan and Brian Kendrick produced the match. I'm like, wait, what? Brian Kendrick, who was fired a few months ago and then tried to get on AEW TV, and then everything about his conspiracy theories and Holocaust denials and so on and so forth started popping up. And it was like, no, AEW was like, nope, turns out you don't have to wrestle tonight for us, pal. He shows back up and everyone's like, what the fuck is going on? And then it's reported afterwards, and I don't remember if it was Meltzer or Fightful. I don't remember which one reported it. But it doesn't matter, because the point is that this was put out there that it was Ronda Rousey that asked for Brian Kendrick to come in to produce her match, which he had to share production. He had to share his production duties with Jason Jordan, and I'm like, my fucking God! Of course, conspiracy nut, Sandy Hook denier, Ronda Rousey is looking out for her boy, her fellow conspiracy theorist. Yeah, sure, Brian Kendrick is the guy who trained her to get into wrestling. So, but hey, you know what? You can see why she's looking out for him. Makes a lot of sense. And he comes in and he produces a shit match. A terrible match. Unquestionably, irredeemably bad. Now, you know what? Shotzi's flying crossbody over the guardrail onto Shayna Baszler and Ronda. That was cool. That's a redeeming quality of this match. It turns out Brian Kendrick isn't hired. He's not back under employment with WWE. I know this was Dave Meltzer who reported it. He was just brought in for a thing. He was just brought in for a one shot to do this as a favor to Ronda. As if she's in any position to call any shots. Jesus Christ. The very definition of failing upwards. Leaves WWE that one, after being, essentially after boo-boo facing her way out of UFC, goes to WWE, ends up boo-boo facing her way through that because Becky Lynch, right? Boo-boo faces her way, goes into Hollywood. No one wants to work with her. They try her out on shit, and everyone's like, nah, we're good. So it comes back to WWE and just being an open sore. Get her off my TV. Then we had the WWE United States Triple Threat match where Austin Theory defeated Robert Lashley and Seth Rollins to become the new United States champion. Of course, this match starts off just like every WWE triple threat match, which super annoys me. One guy's on the floor, gets tossed to the floor, and he spends he stays there for like 2 minutes, flat on his back, and we don't see him at all for a full 2 minutes while two guys fight. And I hate that. It's one of WWE's worst tropes. What's the point of having the triple threat if you're not going to have, if everything just breaks down into 2-on-2 everyone has to get their shit in. Well, because get creative then. I saw surprisingly fun multi-man matches a couple of weeks ago at Full Gear that were very creative. Everyone got their shit in, and there were moments where there were just two guys in the ring, but it made sense. Not off the bat. One guy isn't instantly knocked loopy because he's tossed over the top rope in the first 10 seconds of the match. Jesus Christ. Seth Rollins hits a great Liger bomb in this match. He goes for a Phoenix Splash as well, but Austin Theory dumps him to the floor. Theory then lifts Bobby Lashley for his finisher. What does it call it? The A train down, downtown A train, A down the train, downtown A town, a town downwards, downtown A train town. Take the A train downtown. I don't remember what it's called, but he lifts Lashley up. Lashley fights out, and then Theory flips into a crucifix-like pin, which was pretty cool. Then we get Rollins doing his superplex Falconaro combo. He lifts up Austin Theory to do the Falcon Arrow, but no, Lashley spears him, which allows Austin Theory to roll him up for the win. This was probably the best match of the night. I think this was the most well put together, more interesting, despite the annoyances I had. I'm not going to sit here and scream 5-star classic, go out of your way to see it, but it was pretty good. More than fun. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was well worked. And this is the part of this is what I keep saying, that I don't understand. I don't understand why. I don't know how anyone still now today at the end of November in 2022 can still say the Triple H era is so different and is so fresh, and it's Austin Theory dropping, being unable to capitalize 2 weeks ago. Was it already 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago? In his Money in the Bank cash in on a guy who was already exhausted and played out, wins the US title back 2 weeks later after doing that. It doesn't make sense. Just because he decided to stop bringing a cell phone to the ring and now he's angry. Look, I know a lot of people are saying Austin Theory's the future. You're going to see he's going to be the next John Cena. And I'm like, well, they are trying to do a different version of the ruthless aggression stuff, right? Where it's like he's coming in and he's like, now he's all mad and serious and he's taking it seriously. But I think the damage has been done when it comes to Austin Theory. It's going to take a while to rehabilitate him. And in the meantime, I feel like wrestling fans, WWE fans, are going to feel like he's being shoved down our throats, which was something that Vince was doing. I honestly think the best thing that they could have done with the guy is just take him off TV. Take him off TV for a while, a few months easily. Maybe keep him away until WrestleMania. After WrestleMania, then he comes back. Then you begin the rehabilitation. Now it just feels like we have a plan for this kid and we're going to force feed to him, which makes sense when you say he's going to be the next John Cena, right? Because that's exactly what they did with Cena. Cena's our guy, we're going to push him. They tried to do it with Roman. Roman only got over when they finally decided to turn him heel. I don't see how this recipe is going to work with Austin Theory. I think it's going to be more of the same. The kid might have this unforeseen talent to be a top level guy, a superstar in WWE, which he could, because honestly, listen, all you need to be a top guy or gal in WWE is management behind you. It doesn't matter what your in-ring is like, how capable you are on a promo or not. If you're going to make it, if you're going to be a top star, be a champion, you just have to have management behind you. Get them feeling confident about what you do, and they'll push you. If you get the machine behind you, you will be the star. WWE can make whatever star they want. Look at what they're doing with Ronda. They're convincing us that Ronda is the baddest woman on the planet. They're trying their damnedest, and they're still going down that route. Any other era of pro wrestling, the booker would step back and be like, look, you're not getting any heat right now. We're going to take you off the cards for a bit, or we're going to demote you. We're going to you're going to work the prelim acts. Because you're not working, you're not worth it. This isn't working out. It's not as if what is going to be different with this Austin Theory US title run? What's going to be different this time around? Is this going to be the one where he suddenly turns into the greatest heel of all time? Again, it might happen because he has his stardom in WWE only requires management to get behind him. The rest is secondary. It's superfluous. It doesn't matter. It's whoever the company decides is the top guy is going to be the top guy. They told us for 7 years it was Roman Reigns. But the audience started to believe it only about 3 years ago. But Vince was goddamn. He was good. Roman was the guy, and you were going to like it. And you were going to like it. So whenever I see a guy like Theory, I'm like, sure. Anyone who's going to be patting themselves on the back 5, 7, 10 years from now, when Austin Theory is multi-time WWE champion and tapping themselves on the back, I'll be no, there was nothing really to pat yourself on the back. He didn't have anything that made him come across as the next star. He was just the chosen one. He was the guy that they decided to strap the rocket to, and they got all in behind him. That's all. It's just as simple as that. So outside of the weird-ass booking and the similar trajectories that Triple H is still taking with booking right now, outside of that, I thought this was a very good match. I enjoyed it. And now, the main event, where the Bloodline won their War Games match against Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Butch, Ridge Holland, and Sheamus. So Jay and Butch start this off, and they work each other's arms. And you know what? I really liked the opening salvos here. I think Jay is very good. Pete Dunne will always be an excellent pro wrestler. So this was good. Then Ridge Holland comes in. He and Butch double team Jay. Sammy then comes in, okay. This is where community theater starts kicking in here. Because again, I'm a casual WWE viewer, folks. I don't know everything that's going on with all these stories, right? I'm a casual fan. So for some reason, I saw the vignettes and the backstage stuff throughout the evening. Roman was uncertain in regards to Sammy's loyalty, so Jimmy was supposed to be the next guy out, but Roman held Jimmy back and was like, no. We're gonna let the ginger go. Okay. Drew then comes in and takes everyone out, and Drew's spot here. If you want to go back and watch the match, because there's nothing really to go back and watch, frankly. But if you ever did go back and watch the match, when Drew comes in, there's when you get like the essence of what I mean when I say this is booked like a Royal Rumble. Because Drew comes in and he gets his shit in, and everyone sort of waits around for their turn to get beat up by Drew, Whereas the heels are healthy. They're up there. Drew is a guy who took Roman Reigns to his limit. In August, came within a hair of winning the Undisputed Championship. Why the hell isn't everyone dogpiling Drew? Oh, because he's been demoted to fighting Karrion Kross. So he's not that big a threat anymore. Anyway, there's tables in, and the plunder arrives. Kevin Owens runs in. He's got some chairs. He does some sentons. Look, and a bunch of stuff happens. Okay. A bunch of lying around in the ring. The guys just very much Royal Rumble style. Just all lying down on their side. Sammy does a monologue, and Jey Uso accidentally super kicks him. Kevin Owens and Roman have a legitimately great exchange, right? KO lands a stunner and Sami keeps the ref from counting the 3. And then there's more community theater, lots of staring, lots of uncertainty. What's going to happen next? It drags on forever. Sami hits a haluva kick. And he serves up Kevin Owens for a frog splash by Jay. All of this is long. It's taking forever. And I'm like, there are 4 other dudes on Kevin Owens' team, and 3 of them are involved with this one guy. Where the fuck is Ridge Holland, who we barely saw in this match? Where is he? Where is Sheamus? Isn't Sheamus like this super intense, big-ass brawler? Where is he? Why is no one, why is 4 guys on a team of 5? Why are they completely out of it? Why can't they come get involved? Again, I haven't seen this chaos. I haven't seen like major brawling throughout the ring. I haven't seen people bleed or get thrown against the cage, and I haven't seen any of that. To me, this is just a standard old wrestling match. I don't understand. And this fucking annoys me. Because we have to get, and Kristen can attest to this, because I told him my prediction is that the Bloodline community theater bits are going to overtake the ending to the match, and that's exactly what happened. And it makes no sense. It makes 0 sense. Because that's exactly what happened. There's literally 4 other dudes. But Warren, what you don't, Warren, you don't understand. This is storytelling. Sami had to make sure that we understood where his loyalties are. Let's go back to 1992 for a quick second, when Nikita Koloff was a part of Sting's squadron in that same War Games that I referenced to earlier. And we were unsure of Koloff's loyalties to Sting because they had fought over championships and whatnot. They had a little feud going, and we were unsure whether Koloff would do the right thing or not in this match. Well, when Koloff came in, not unlike what's happening here, when Koloff got into the ring, he stared down Sting because Sting was unsure about what he'd do. But then what did he do? He saved Sting from an attack by Arn Anderson, took him out. He and Sting high-fived, hugged, and we were good to go for the rest of the match. It took 15 to 20 seconds to get that bit out of the way. And guess what? The audience popped. They were on their feet. They were like, fuck yeah. Koloff and Sting on the same page. The Stinger squad are unstoppable at this point. This would not end. It's as if it's not because it's long and you're exchanging looks and close-ups of people going like this that it's more dramatic. It is still wrestling. And this destroyed the pace of the finish. And on top of, and here's something else I don't understand. Here's another thing I don't understand. I thought Sami Zayn was a part of the Bloodline. Because I do recall, not that long ago, a certain thing with t-shirts where everyone thought, oh, finally Roman is turning on Sami. He's kicking him out of the Bloodline, but no, he tore off the one t-shirt to give him another t-shirt to signify that he was in the Bloodline, and they all hugged, and it was a great moment, and I myself thought, this is well done. Wasn't he in the Bloodline? Now everyone is acting like, oh, now he's in the bloodline. But I thought he already was. And I thought he already was one time previous to that when they made him an honorary. There's a nope. Now he has to be an official. Okay. Now what is he? Double official. Now he's official times infinity. Is this how it works? I don't understand what the story is at all. I understand that. that Kevin Owens set a seed of doubt. But I thought Sammy was already in the bloodline. Now is it because, oh, he's family now? What are these layers that they keep adding on to the Sami Zayn story? I don't know if you guys realize, but we've been treading the same Sami Zayn story for the past 4 to 5 months. It's been the same thing. He's hanging around the bloodline. Oh, we're going to make him an honorary use, but he's not quite there yet. Oh, but now we make him an official, but there's still tensions. Jay doesn't like him. Is he an Uso or is he not? Is he in the bloodline? Is he not? And now now he is again. We've been there. This is not story development. We're right in the exact same spot. We're just treading the same story, just giving it other words. But it's the same thing. It's been the same thing. Sammy wants to hang around the bloodline. Roman likes to have him around. Jay doesn't trust him. Oh, now he's got a t-shirt. Nothing's changed. I don't understand. I understand that in these arcs, if you want to call it such, these little situations that Sammy gets thrown in, he is unbelievably good. Like Kevin Owens said in his promo last night on Raw, for the past 20 years, I've known that Sami Zayn is one of the greatest wrestlers out there. Anyone who's seen him work, and I mean properly work, knows this. So this is no surprise to anyone. You give Sammy a moment to shine and he'll jump right in and he's been doing spectacular stuff. He's always been great. This is the redeeming thing out of all of this. But I can't in good faith sit here and say, yes, the bloodline story is the greatest thing in pro wrestling today, because it's treading the same thing over and over again. There is no real advancement. They always seem to be creating these new layers that Sammy has to prove himself every time. So it's the same story we're telling. Jay doesn't trust him. Now Jay trusts him. So now listen, at least now I'm secure in knowing and helping. I'm thinking that probably from this point moving forward, we're going to get a new and a legit story bump to this entire bloodline thing. That it won't just revolve around Jay and Sammy don't get along anymore. Oh, now Silo Sikoa, he doesn't want to get, he's a tough nut to crack. It's this, don't y'all see that it's always the same thing? It's the same story, they're just shifting it to someone else. That's why I say, when I do my Dynamite reviews, by the way, every Thursday, subscribe to the channel, you won't miss them. Subscribe to the podcast feed that you're listening to right now. I talk about storytelling for grown-ups. When I talk about AEW stories, the company that people keep telling me there are no stories, there's plenty of them. And they're good. And they advance. You're not fed the same thing over and over again and say, hey, look at this. This is steak. Hey, look, this is steak. Wait, I had steak for lunch. Yeah, but Here, it's covered in barbecue sauce. Oh, but it's still steak. The ending completely took me out of it. Completely took me out of it. I was like, of course. For some reason, 4 professional wrestlers suddenly disappear from the entirety of a match so that 3 other wrestlers can congregate around one guy, right? That all makes sense, right? And they're all in a cage, right? It doesn't work for me. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense. It ruins why I watch wrestling in the first place. Which is to bring me to the finish. Bring me to the finish. And again, look, I can understand why some people get excited about it, and I completely understand why this is the biggest deal in WWE right now. I really do. I get it. Don't worry. But just because I get it doesn't mean I like it. It's not for me. Kudos if it's for you. But to me, that's not what wrestling is. That ain't pro wrestling. We're still very much in the throes of sports entertainment, despite the fact that the wrestlers can call themselves wrestlers now, despite the fact that the wrestlers can say that they wrestle, that they do wrestling, despite all the things that Papa H lets them say, it's still sports entertainment. Interesting tidbit that came out of the PLE is apparently Roman Reigns got really heated after the match. He was upset. I'm going to read the report coming to us. I'm going to read the article from the Figure 4 Online, Observer. Roman Reigns was reportedly not happy following the Survivor Series main event. According to a report from Fightful Select, Reigns was said to be visibly upset backstage regarding what he perceived as an quote-unquote unplanned spot that involved him and Kevin Owens. Reigns was overheard saying that he may have ruptured an eardrum, and it was clear to those who witnessed the scene that he was not happy with what happened. Reigns did not take part in the post-press conference as he was originally scheduled to. Talent spoken with by Fightful indicated that they did not believe that there would be any extended heat from what happened, and that Reigns' reaction was likely due to the heat of the moment. J.K. Schwal and Mr. Fretz, good to see you, both of you, and welcome to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. And you are both also members of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, so I appreciate both of you as well. Everyone, poured over the match once this report came out, and all the sleuths on Twitter seem to have pinpointed the idea when Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns had an exchange. Kevin Owens slapped Roman's across the face quite hard, and Roman did have a substantial bruise on his cheek after the match. Roman just receded him back. He just like bonk. He just drilled Kevin with one, which is absolutely fine, right? It's wrestling, right? And I was like, oh, it was an unplanned spot. He went into business. Roman Reigns went backstage and was like, he went into business for himself. I'm out here trying to grow a business. And here I am, working with children. Can Kevin Owens manage a Target? I bet Kevin Owens owns a bank account with his mother. That's what, I'm exaggerating, of course. The least Roman Reigns could have done, getting angry at a spot in the match afterwards, the least he could have done is put over a local bakery, I love this kind of stuff because I feel like WWE fans aren't used to it. They're not used to seeing this kind of stuff because everything is so, when I tell you guys that everything is overproduced in WWE, this is a very good example. Because if Kevin Owens, right? Kevin Owens, a guy who has, if a guy like Kevin Owens hits a guy who's come up on the indies, knows how to work a crowd, if he gets into a ring and he feels like the audience is the energy's a little down, he's going to do what needs to be done to get the audience back into it. Not unlike a certain faction of 3 in a Chicago arena last Wednesday night. So if he slaps Roman and that was not something we discussed, well, Roman, Christ, suck it up. And do it. You're the fucking world champion. You're fine. You're the most over guy in the company. You're the most pushed guy in the company for the past 2 years. You're okay. You've been Vince's favorite for the 7 years previous to that. You're fine. You can take a slap that came a little out of nowhere. Now he could just be, just like, adrenaline, frustrations, so on and so forth, heat of the moment kind of thing. I completely buy into it. This is the kind of report that leaks and I'm like, well, how significant is it? It doesn't sound significant. So what? So what? Again, this isn't something that people have to choose sides on. But I can absolutely understand Kevin Owens going, you know what? I'm going off script here. And if the fact that but this is what I would love to know is the fact that he went off script the problem, right? Because if he went off script, and that's ultimately, you didn't stick to the plan, then it stops being pro wrestling. Then it is, everything. If everything is drawn out to the letter like that, there is no room for improvement. No wonder when, you're on NXT, you're watching NXT or Level Up and someone blows a spot and the other person doesn't know how to improvise because that spot was blown, because everything is so laid out that if you blow one spot, well, it blows the next spot. How do we transition back into the rest of the match? That's a problem. That's a problem. And that's not how wrestling should be. It really isn't. You should be able to, it's necessary to be able to react off the moment, to get something that'll generate a little heat. Because you know what? I don't know who needs to hear this, but the crowd wasn't all that into it. The crowd wasn't all that into the War Games match. So again, seasoned wrestler, veteran, man of the indies, man of the world, Kevin Owens was like, I'll slap Roman across the face. That'll get people into it. It did. And then it led to an exchange between the two that I thought rocked. I'm going to tell you, look, I was also reading, I'm thankful that the report says that, there's not going to be any sustained heat in regards to this. So, I think that a lot of the situation has been overblown. I mostly wanted to make a little fun of it, get some jokes off because I think it's funny. I also read that, the projection for the Royal Rumble main event, well, not the main event, but Roman would defend his title at Royal Rumble against Kevin Owens. That to me, that I'm like, okay, well, hopefully that sticks. Hopefully that sticks, and we're not going to we're not going to move on to someone else because Kevin has to be punished or some utter bullshit to that effect. And one more quick detail about WWE here. Now that I've seen that there's a lot of speculation going around. It's like, who's going to win the Women's Royal Rumble, right? Because there's a lot of that. That's it. We're moving into that territory. We're moving into Royal Rumble territory, I think, I'm going to throw this out here because I think, I feel like I need to speak this into the universe because I think I want this on record just in case I get to take a victory lap, which I'd love to do. But I believe that the Royal Rumble is going to be won by Becky Lynch this year. And I think she is going to move on to challenge Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's Championship. As much as it pains me to say, I don't think Ronda is going to be dropping the title between now and WrestleMania, because in the lizard brains of the people running that company, Ronda Rousey still has some name value, which she absolutely does not. She's done nothing. Well, we talked about it. Don't have to go over it again, Warren. But I think Becky will absolutely win the Royal Rumble and will challenge, the outcome being that at WrestleMania, Becky and Ronda, the match that everyone kind of wanted and was expecting and was hoping to get a couple of years ago when she and her started feuding online, and then it sort of spilled into the meta on the show. And, Ronda started getting all boo-boo faced, and I think that's what they're going to go for. Because right now, barring a Sasha Banks return, the SmackDown Women's division is pretty bleak. So I would absolutely see Becky going, you know what, Ronda? You talk a big game. Remember a few years ago, you talked a big game on me. It's time. Now it's time to put up or shut up. I think it's too late as far as a big draw match is. I think years ago would have been the moment to do it. I think now, since Ronda's luster is so bleak at this point, it's not even a quarter of the big match that it should be, but WWE still sees it as the big match. And you know what? Probably Becky wants it. And if Becky wants it, she should get it. Just like if Becky doesn't want it, she shouldn't have to put up with it either. But something tells me that I could definitely see Becky Lynch lobbying hard to get the match for WrestleMania. And a lot of people are saying, oh, no. It's going to be Becky Lynch. It's going to be Becky Lynch and Bianca again. As much as they had great chemistry, and I enjoyed their matches, I don't think you run that again at WrestleMania this year, because I think that you serve up Bianca Belair to one Rhea Ripley. Make no bones about it. Rhea Ripley is on the verge of a mega push. And for real this time. Not like the one she had a couple of years ago where she was all smiles coming into the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, their stadium, forget what it's called, all wide-eyed and going, wow, I'm so happy to be here, when we had just known her as a tough lady, as a brute, a badass. Now she's the brute and the badass that she was supposed to be. Serve her up to Bianca. They've teased it. They've absolutely been teasing it. I think this is what you do. You do Bianca and Rhea at on night one, whichever night, on one of the two nights, and you do Becky and Ronda on the other night. And one match is going to be clearly superior to the other. And one match will be entirely carried by the unnatural charisma of Becky Lynch. So, and look, even if Becky doesn't look, because there's still the Elimination Chamber, right? So you can still win a spot there. So even if she doesn't win the Royal Rumble, which I think she will, she can win the Elimination Chamber. The point being that the destination is, I'm convinced, is Ronda versus Becky. And a lot of people are booking with their hearts. They're going, no, let it be Ronda versus Bayley. And it's not going to be Ronda versus Bayley. This is the other thing that we have to keep in mind. WrestleMania is no longer an event that showcases wrestling. It's about spectacle, and it's about bringing in the biggest amount of spectacle you can to amaze and enthrall, right? So again, in the lizard brains of WWE management right now, Ronda Rousey still has name value, so they're going to put her on the card against their biggest female star, still one of the most recognizable faces of the company, and she's still up there with Roman. I think that's what they go for. I think the opposite, because I've seen a lot of people booking with their hearts when it comes to WrestleMania, but that's not how WrestleMania goes. WrestleMania now, this is what we have to understand. It's a spectacle. It's a show. It has very little to do with why you watch wrestling in general. It's more like it's a celebration. And we bring in all the. We bring in all the stars. We bring in the outsiders. We bring in all the attention onto us over 2 nights. That's what WrestleMania is. It's got to be Sasha. Not Sasha, excuse me. It's got to be Becky and Ronda. And Bianca and Rhea, which is a fantastic, fresh, well, not fresh because they've done it in NXT, but on this stage it'll be fresh. That's where I think they're going with the women's titles going into WrestleMania. Because look, Becky comes back, she gets the win for her team, not the WWE Raw champion, Raw Women's Champion, excuse me, Becky Lynch. So they're positioning Becky. And I'm sorry if you're not picking up these clues in the booking, but this is what's happening. Rhea gets taken out by Mist, Rhea, is able to, she gets the pin on Mia Yim last night. Rhea is fighting dudes on Maine. This is what they're setting her up for. Her push is coming as well. She will probably have a great Royal Rumble performance. I think Becky's going to be the winner, and then Rhea will probably win Elimination Chamber. And that's how things are going to settle. And we're going to get a few months of Becky Lynch tearing into Ronda Rousey on Twitter, which I am absolutely here for. And then Ronda doing her best to respond back, but sounding instead like a complete dope. There's been some talk about William Regal and his contract with All Elite Professional Wrestling. I don't know if you've been following this story or not, but here's the long and short of it. It all started last week on Dynamite when William Regal was chased off of Dynamite by Jon Moxley. If you recall the angle, Moxley hits the ring after being cheated out of. After William Regal turned on him, there you go, at Full Gear, and was ready to beat him up, and Bryan Danielson didn't leave him, and Jon Moxley basically told William Regal in the ring, run as fast as you can, don't ever come back, which immediately opened a lot of speculation as to whether or not, he's leaving the company, he's going back to Orlando, which is possible. Because he and Triple H are tight. They get along very well with each other. Don't forget that William Regal was a Vince firing. So this all started some speculation with Dave Meltzer saying, look, he's got a year on his contract. And hasn't quite been a year yet. But we're getting close to it. And he's like, well, the contract is up in a year. Then Meltzer posts a retraction. He says a correction from last night's show, because he was talking about this on Wrestling Observer Radio. A correction from last night's show regarding Regal's deal, based on what he said when he signed his deal last spring, was for 3 years. So, a bit of a correction. William Regal's contract wouldn't be up until 2025 based on this information, which makes it very unlikely that he would head back to WWE just yet, anyway. Unless, of course, he is let out of his contract, which is something Tony Khan has not done yet. Like he's never let anyone out of their contract. He hasn't let anyone out of their contract beforehand. So that all happens. And then Dave Meltzer today on Wrestling Observer Radio went over these details once again. And now he's going down this correction, and he's adding more details and also more confusion, like only Dave Meltzer can do. Let me read this out for you. This is the transcription that I got off of Wrestle Purists. William Regal, when he signed, this is Dave talking. William Regal, when he signed, which was only in April or May, said that he signed for 3 years. Now, something is going on, but I'm not sure of all the details. Actually, I've been told a lot of stuff, but most of it was off the record. But the basic gist of the situation is I don't know what he's doing as far as if he's going to WWE, if he's staying with AEW. But I do know that it is something that has been talked about. So either there's something in the contract, because a 3-year deal, Tony Khan has not let anyone out early so far. That doesn't mean that he never will, but I don't know what the situation is. But there were people who were talking about how there's stuff being talked about. God, I love Dave. Listen to this sentence. This is peak Meltzer here. This is how I want to remember him. But there were people who were talking about how there's stuff being talked about. But I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know if he's staying. I don't know if he's going. The rumors have been out even before Wednesday's show. The thing on Wednesday's show was just an angle, but there had been talk of that from very, very early on. So the fact that he said he was signed for 3 years, that doesn't mean I'm saying, because some people are like, oh, that means he's for sure leaving and there's no story here. There's something going on. But there's no guarantee he's leaving. There's no guarantee he's staying. There's no guarantee he's not staying. God, I love Dave. As far as how all of this works, as far as the contract situation with Tony and everything like that, I'm not aware of that. But I do know that it's something that's in play. But he said his contract is 3 years, so in theory, that would tell you that he couldn't do anything until April 2025. So that's basically what I know. What can I say? Put it that way. Just brilliant stuff. That was just fantastic stuff. And so essentially, you know, what our boy Dave is saying here is that there's no what Dave is saying is that we don't know what's going on, but there has been talk, right? And why wouldn't there be talk? Why wouldn't there be talk for William Regal to go back to WWE, and he's leveraging his options? Isn't this great? Folks, isn't this great that WWE, no, excuse me, that WWE is that WWE is capable right now of being in a position where, let me start over. That's not exactly what I wanted to say. Isn't it great that wrestlers have leverage, is what I'm saying. There we go. I wanted to take such a detour to get to the destination. I don't know why I just didn't keep it simple. But I think it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant, that we're in a position today that a guy like William Regal can be like, look, I have opportunities to go elsewhere. I can go work somewhere else and still make a decent paycheck. This is what a lot of us had been preaching and saying at the top of our lungs when AEW started off. It's like, competition is great, and then the first people who are going to benefit from this are the talent, the wrestlers, the on-air talent like Regal. They are all going to benefit from having this type of situation set up. I think it's brilliant. You can ask me, Warren, what do you think William Regal should do? It's like, William Regal should do what he feels is best for him. And that's ultimately all that matters. Again, there is no reason to make this into a tribalistic thing or into a, overanalyze shit. William Regal should do whatever he feels is best for him. It's just as simple as that. And if he lets his contract run out until 2025, and then 2025 is like, sayonara, I'm heading back to WWE, good for him. If he's able to negotiate an early release with Tony Khan, and Tony Khan is cool with it, good for him. Every wrestler working the major leagues right now have an out. They have something to leverage their position with. Isn't that fantastic? And it's fantastic that a guy like William Regal can benefit from it. He's no spring chicken. He's not an active competitor, and yet here we go. He's like, well, I have options, and I've been talking to people. Obviously, we've been chatting, because of course everyone talks. This is whenever I hear these reports like feelers have been sent out, have been in contact with. It's like everyone always talks. Everyone is always DMing. Everyone is in Facebook groups and what chat and WhatsApp chat back. WhatsApps. Everyone always talks. That's like it in and about itself. It's not like a talk could be like, hey, when are you free? When is your contract up? 2023. Okay, call you next year. Bye. And that could be the essence of what's being reported. And you can't say that it's not true. They did talk, but they did. You know, when we report, when I say we, as if I include myself, I'm no journalist. I'm not a scoopster man. But when the news sites report that there have been talks, right? I don't know what it comes across as more official, because people have the impression that since it's being discussed in the news cycle, then that means that it is significant enough to be. But it doesn't have to be. You know what I mean? It could be very passing. It could be a very light conversation. Oh yeah, I chatted with so-and-so. See how he likes it over there. Wrestling world isn't that big. Everyone knows each other in one way. There's just a couple of degrees of separation between most people. It's not that big. So my takeaway from this story that I think is interesting, I think it only got interesting because William Regal was effectively written off TV last Wednesday, off of AEW TV, by saying, hit the bricks. But I would not be at all surprised if this Wednesday on Dynamite, and I talked about this on the Dynamite review last week, and you should subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss out on that. I talked about it last week that I wouldn't be surprised if MJF comes out this week, as he's scheduled to do, and says, you know what, John Moxley, you're throwing your weight around like you're someone special, but I'm the champ now, I make the rules, and William Regal is under my protection, and then William Regal comes out and do, and everything is, everything is hunky-dory kind of thing, Wouldn't surprise me a single bit. Wouldn't surprise me a minute. Let's wrap it up tonight. Just on something I feel like we need to talk about, because I don't think it's going. I think I want to talk about Athena, the former Ember Moon. I want to talk about how I want to point out how great her heel turn has been, how spectacularly fantastic her heel turn has been. Off of the event a few weeks ago at the Toronto show, where she took on Jody Threat, Canadian stalwart independent wrestler Jody Threat, who is still a shock to me. No one has ever signed this woman to a contract. That's a whole other podcast. But apparently people got a little worried that Athena was maybe going a little aggressive. It's going a little hard. You don't want wrestlers to, don't hurt each other, wrestlers. You gotta be careful. Whatever happened in that match, whether it was planned that she was going to, be particularly aggressive, or, if she was throwing receipts, at this point, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because, or if it was the Toronto crowd that was behind Jody Threat and Athena was like, well, look, I'm going to work heel like you should do. You see what I'm talking about? You see what I mean? I say wrestlers need to be able to do this shit to get a crowd into a match. If Athena called the audible and was like, look, I'm gonna work heel in this match, and Jody's like, go for it. That was the right call. Anyway, from that point on, they've been working at an Athena heel turn, and I think it has been spectacular. It has been nothing but excellent. It is one of the best heel turns I have seen in a long time. Athena has been getting into the ring and destroying opponents, being overly aggressive with them, and I love it. Again, I don't know which came first. I don't know if this was all planned, but I think it is doubly genius if they decided to take the Jody Threat situation, like, look, people think you're too hard, too harsh. Go for it. This is your story now. Athena's pissed off. She's not going to take it anymore. Go. And it's been outstanding. Her heel turn has been amazing. And what I want to point out as the closing topic of the Mr. Warren Hayes show tonight, what I want to point out here is how good this is, but how good Athena is at it too. She's completely leaning into it, and she's looking fierce. It's breathing new life into what she's doing. And she's completely quelling the discussions that were saddled onto her for years at this point. Being that, has a little trouble delivering in the ring. Well, she's not that great a promo. She's a little iffy. She's a little iffy overall. Kind of soft sometimes. Can't hit the. Her character is kind of strange. She has some weird creative ideas. She's a bit of an oddball. All of this stuff that had been following her, it all seems to be shedding away. This has to feel good for her at the same time, because I'm not hearing this. And if anything, this started last summer when she started cutting promos for her match with Jade, with Chris Statlander before, all the injuries started happening. And she was cutting promos, and I was like, man, why did anyone decide to overproduce this woman? Look at her go. She's not reading from a script anymore. She feels natural. We have to consider this, that this is, we have to keep an eye on this. This is absolutely one of the most compelling heel personas that is being created right now, right before our eyes. I don't care if it's on Dark or Elevation or not. It's bled onto the main shows. It doesn't matter. It's happening and it's working. And you know what? The AEW audience is paying attention because people are fucking into it. Even if it's just a gif. She's getting in there. She's slaughtering people. Pro wrestling. Not trying to be cute. Not trying to, go around trying to hit all sorts of moves. Just coming in, knocking the shit out of people. I absolutely love it. It's endearing to me. I think she's excellent in what she's doing. And like I said, excuse me, it's washing off stuff that she's been carrying unjustly. Because I would think overall her NXT tenure was overall a success. I think you'd call it a good one, right? She didn't leave there. Unprepared. She left a mark, despite the fact that, look, she went up in the midst of the Oscar run. So, stuff happens, but she gets called up, and her initial call up goes pretty well. Then my timeline's a little fuzzy, but I think she gets injured. And when she returns from injury, she never really recovers. There's this story where Vince McMahon, towards the end of her main roster run, before she got sent back to NXT, she was, very shy and, talking about Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, because Vince saw her playing a Nintendo Switch backstage one day and was like, "Okay, pal, your gimmick now is you're an insecure geek." I mean, who gets over being an insecure geek in Vince McMahon's brain, right? That doesn't work. What does Vince know about anything except being insulting, right? Because he couldn't understand how to get a geek over. Goes back to NXT and it's so, and then goes to AEW. I'm telling you, she hasn't felt this fresh in a long time. And I think she's digging it. And I think she can feel it. Clearly, they're setting up a match against Mercedes Martinez for the Ring of Honor Women's title, which will probably be at Final Battle. And quite frankly, as much as I'm a Mercedes Martinez guy, I think you put it on Athena. I think Athena comes out of there, continues whooping people, because that's it's kind of the Ring of Honor vibe that she's got going. Coming in, wrestling, kicking ass, leaving. It works for me. And I think we're going to look back at this and be like, yeah, you know what? This was a turning point for her AEW run and, maybe her career. We'll see how things go. But we will see the end of the weekly wrestling inspection now. Not exactly the marathon that I usually do, but like I said, there, and admittedly, okay, like I said, there's, not many, nothing really eventful happening in wrestling because I think, it's still the Thanksgiving lull and so on and so forth. Admittedly, I have been neglecting watching New Japan recently. I haven't been keeping up. I've been keeping up from afar, but not really watching Best of Super Juniors. Excuse me, the Super Junior Tag League and World Tag League right now. However, I've seen so many people raving about the Best of Super Juniors, which I figured would be very good in compared to World Tag League, and a lot of people are really excited about it. So I'm going to try and delve a little more into it. I'm going to catch up, hopefully have a little more to talk about in that regard next week, because apparently the junior tag team tournament is fantastic right now. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get back into it. But in the meantime, I want to thank you all for watching. If you haven't liked the video already, please go right ahead. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Come back on Thursday. I'm going to be, come back on Thursday right here, youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, or your favorite podcast app. Subscribe on it because I'll have my weekly Dynamite review. That will be right here for you to enjoy. But like I said, we're going to wrap it up now. And I hope you have a great rest of your week, everyone. It was a thrill to hang out with you. And we'll see you next time.